And so, what is next on the horizon for Adlumin? I know recently we've talked about things like the ransomware prevention, and data loss prevention as well. I'd talk about a little bit of those, and then we'll go into what is on the future horizon for Adlumin.
Yeah, certainly. So the ransomware prevention has continued to expand. So effectively, what we're doing is through our threat research team, and I talked about how important threat research is. We sort of identified like where are some of the key starting points that criminals go, like let's say file folders, specific targets, things like that, when they're starting a ransomware attack. And so it isn't a simple, they come in suddenly magically, they've teleported in ransomware on every device and they just push a button and it's over. They take time, they test those services, they make sure they can encrypt the files and so on before they actually push that big red button and start the final attack. And through our research, we sort of identified what are some of the target files? What is it that they test? Where do they go? And so on. And now that we know where we're going to find them, we set up sort of tripwires and canaries that are then going to call out that early presence of what looks like ransomware activity. And so what that means is as soon as we see that, we can block it. And so maybe one device gets hit if they decide to be, malicious and try to detonate, but that's it. They can't move laterally. They can't go any further. The exfiltration piece is also looking for the signs and symptoms of the collection of information, which generally goes hand in hand with ransomware, right? So they're going to find what they think is important, patient care records. It's a real easy connection in healthcare or in banking, financial records, whatever it might be. And we know they're going to collect that somewhere. And that's kind of the precursor to the exfiltration stage, right? So they're not going to try and pull it randomly from thousands of different sources. They're going to, create a repository and then ship that repository out to make it more effective and faster. And of course, they want to do that in the late stages so that if that's detected, it's kind of too late. Again, we're looking for those precursors so we can prevent that from occurring and we can disable those connections so they can't move that freight outbound. Another system that we're working on moving forward with ransomware is actually looking at some of the kind of the leftovers that they leave behind. So there may be things like auto run scripts in the registry that could in the future call back that ransomware again or start the whole cycle over and over. So we're going through and sort of cleaning that. So what we're looking for is, where do they leave those kind of those sort of backdoors per se, or early stages of backdoors, and we're going in and we're cleaning all of that out. So we're looking at the differences between what did specific files in the registry look like before we found their presence and what does it look like afterwards. And when we see that delta, those are the kind of things that we can quickly identify through our threat team as I said, these are suspicious auto run tasks, things like that. And then we're going to kill those so that they cannot advance any further. And then, just the overall advancements in the platform and the services is a continuation of the artificial intelligence, the machine learning algorithms that we built. So some of what we've talked about already, the ransomware ones, but other ones looking at the key choke points. So things like account takeovers in M365 or Google Suite. PowerShell and other remote administrative tool takeovers. That's very common. Ones to block things like MFA bypasses. So sometimes criminals get good at figuring out how to scoop tokens, not just the authentication token, but then also session tokens, so they can behave and act just like an authenticated user, and they won't be interrogated anymore by whatever the service is. We're looking at things like that and the ways to, again, block those. So when we see that early stage, we want to kill it so that even if the user's clicked on a link and they're trying to log in and they don't understand that it's a malicious link and they're not actually providing their information to, let's say, Azure, we're going to stop it before it becomes dangerous for them. So it's really, really the advancements in those sort of key, I kind of call them choke points, right? It's you can't protect every inch of the perimeter of your defense, but what you can do is, there's the kind of the common spots that they're coming through, and that's where you're going to put your defenses. And then you can catch them in that canyon and it's easy to ambush them before they can start that frontal attack.